Gaius stood with his two brothers, awaiting the inevitable. 3 were always invited in together, always 3. 1 would hold the holy bolter, 1 would hold the fully marked helm of the marine, the one to be raised, the one to be honoured with the promotion to a battle company, the 2nd to 5th, and the life of a space marine, an Adeptus Astartes. There were few days that could compare, for it meant that they had done it. They had finally ended their journey. Oh, there would hopefully be other elevations, commendations, awards, honours and promotions. But this was the one that counted the most. They had all come up together, Marius, Gaius and Quintus, always on each other's heels, if not raised within months of each other, and as long had been their competition. From day one, Marius and Quintus had been best, without question. Marius was accurate. He excelled so much in the early days in the scout and devastation segments of their training. His record was almost unparalleled. Quintus was known to have the Emperor's own rage inside him, but tempered. His skill and fury in close quarters had made him seem the shining new light of the chapter, for it was known that few actual full marines thought that they could best him in a duel of sword or axe. Then there was Gaius. He was never as accurate as Marius, nor as aggressive or skilled as Quintus. Always above the others in his cohort, but still away behind the others in taking center stage. So he knew. Gaius did not begrudge his brothers. They were paragons, and he felt he could not compare. So he just studied and drilled, studied and drilled. He worked. He worked so hard to make up for the deficit in natural talent that had been so lavishly gifted on his brothers. Their competition had been with each other, Marius and Quintus. They both knew it would be one of them, but which? One of them would be raised and the others fulfilling merely roles in the ceremony. A day of honor. It would be before the entire company. It would be a day to remember. They always were. They did pomp well in the Dark Arbiters, an Ultramarine successor chapter. As their sergeant, lieutenant and captain all trooped in with great solemnity, and then sat at the long table in front of the 3 marines all stood to attention before them, as they had done for an hour now. The captain finally spoke. "You have been brought here to plan the arrangements for the elevation of one of your number, for 2 of you will help your brother to cross from one strand of his life to the next. You will assist so you can honor your brother, but also so it kindles the fires in your heart and makes you strive to join them in the battle companies, to be a full space marine." The 3 did not move, but their eyes darted from one face to the next. The 2 seniors beamed at them for once. Rufus, their sergeant, sat with his hands steepled in front of him, looking over them with a stony glare. The captain continued. "So, we come to the moment. Which one of you has been chosen to rise first? For I have no doubt you will all have this moment one day." Marius and Quintus could not help themselves. They both sucked in air and puffed out their chests. So confident were the 2. So confident were the 2 of them that it was indeed one of them. "Gaius, will you accept the promotion, the responsibility, the honor of joining the 5th Company?" Gaius took a moment, as he was dragged from his reverie and blurted out a simple, "What?" The captain chortled and then said, "Brother Gaius, will you join the 5th Company?" Gaius swiftly shook his head, as if trying to clear the fog, and looked on dumbfounded. In the seconds between the moments, Quintus took half a step closer and raised his fist, gesticulating as fast now as he ever did with a blade on the field of combat. "What? Gaius? What is this, some joke? I could kill him where he stood. Marius could outshoot him with one eye. What is going on here?" The captain's smile slowly melted as he looked at Quintus, and Quintus seemed to wither. It is as you feared, Rufus. Explain it to him, before I take it as insubordination and am forced to act myself." The old sergeant unsteepled his hands and just glared at them. "So it has come to this. Well, let me explain to you what Gaius already knows. He actually is the real deal, the best of you three. He is the warrior I would trust at my back. Quintus, you will look to your skill and your valour, your head count if you will, and see yourself the better warrior, but you are merely the better duellist. Marius, you will do the same with your precision. Your target acquisition is second to none, but your prioritization? Again, you can easily outshoot Gaius, but it is still he I advise to be promoted. For you are phenomenal warriors, it is true. Perhaps the best we have seen, with the most potential, in many a year. But you're not ready for the battle line. For Gaius's kill count will never match yours, Marius, as he watches all angles. He looks to the sides and the rear, spends as much time watching you and Quintus's rear quarters as he does his fore. He is a Marine. He treats the lives of his brothers in equal worth, if not more than his own. When he is in a unit, he may not again be first into the fray, as you are, but he is also the one who has been noted, many a time, to have engaged those flanking, those outnumbering his brethren. Gaius may dream of personal glory, as we all should, but acts for his squad, his chapter and his emperor. You will win honour. He wins battles. Because he is part of the whole and understands his place. For in the line there are no heroes, there are squads. Individual glory is rare. It is the squad's honour and glory that matter. For the battle line squad will outlive any and all individuals inside it. Gaius knows this. He is ready. You are not. And thus it was that Gaius was elevated before his entire company stood rank on rank, cheering as he turned and was passed his helm by a man who was a far better combatant, then was passed his bolter to an equally loud cheer from a man who was the far better shot. And later, Gaius was the first one for both Marius and Quintus, who offered his hand and filled their cups as a full brother when they did eventually make it to the line company some years later. When this happened, both Marius and Quintus smiled widely and shook heartily, for only then did they understand that he was the better Marine. Welcome, gentle listener. I'm Voldemort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and units of the Warhammer 40k universe, the grim darkness of the far future. And so, we have been following the progression of one of those legendary warriors of humanity, an Adeptus Astartes, a space marine, from their days in the scout company, then Devastator, then assault squads, and finally, yes finally, we are at what I consider to be the most important unit in the entire game and setting of Warhammer 40k, the Tactical Marine, in the Tactical Squad. I shall go into detail of my perception and near veneration of this simple unit that is so often overlooked, so derided, why they are so important. But for the basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, end quote. The Tactical Marine. Some may see them as the vanilla unit, the least interesting, the bog standard, the drab. From my humble perspective, I could not be further from the truth. For the Tactical Squad is not only the backbone of the chapters, but realistically and very effectively, they are the ancestors of the units that inarguably won the human race dominion over the greater part of the Milky Way galaxy. Originally, these units would be 10 men with bolters, That doesn't sound possible, right? How could a unit and army win on small arms fire alone? Well, very soon I hope to do a full entry on the most important weapon in the entire setting, the bolter. Holy bolter! But do not think of this as a standard handheld weapon. It is literally a cannon in the hands of a walking 8-foot tank. Marines are not to be trifled with, despite the lack of real representation of this brutal weapon on the tabletop. As we all know, there will always be a disparity between the fluff, the background lore that I attempt to impart, and the actual game mechanics. But trust me, in lore or in the game, the bolter can destroy almost anything. So do not think of tactical marines as you would say troops in any other army, be they Eldar, Orc, or even Guard. For the tactical marine is the finished product, the ultimate warrior. They may get promoted to other ranks above this, but in my mind this is just a structural necessity for their doctrines. When an Astartes is finally accepted as a battle-line tactical marine, then they are and always will be a full marine. A full grandson of the Emperor, tracing their genetics, their line all of the way to that sublime being, the master of mankind. No matter what may happen from there, they have achieved their goal and are amongst the most powerful warriors that humanity has ever produced, and one alone could annihilate scores of their equals from the Schola Progenium. But they are also the most experienced warriors that have ever existed. Alright? Many will balk at that when compared to some of the horrors that stalk the galaxy, but I will not engage in that nuance today. The typical Marine squad has a minimum of 1,000 years of full combat experience, and all are veterans to such an extent that they really does require for a more powerful word to describe them. But for once, I am lost for any such example. What is a veteran of veterans? I don't know. The tactical squad is not only armed with bolters, bolt pistols for close encounters, and crack and frag grenades. This is for 7 of the members. One will have a bona fide heavy weapon, be it a plasma cannon, heavy bolter, grav, las cannon, missile launcher, or there are but a few. One will have a specialist weapon, a plasma gun, melter gun, flamer, etc. And the grizzled sergeant, as we have heard, can choose from a vast array of weaponry, as they are competent with all. So they take that which they believe will be required most at the time of the confrontation. The heavy and specialist weapons added to the bolters and anything the sergeant carries means that the tactical squad is perfectly positioned and equipped to deal with almost any foe, from infantry swarms, heavy tanks or elites of the enemy. They are literally the Swiss Army knife of units that has absolutely no hard counter. They can kill anything, and any foe would need to be intensely skilled, exquisitely armed, or in insurmountable numbers if they were to even hope of coming out on top against these warriors of legend. So that is the law. That is why they are so important on the battlefield, be it in book, animation, silly story from a bald YouTuber, but also in the game itself. But there is so much more, for they hold a place that seems sacrosanct in all of the many issues and editions of the game of Warhammer 40k. Because they started it. And after the rare metal individual or small squad boxes seemed popular, they began the explosion. For it was that one box of Space Marines, Adeptus Astartes, that really kicked it off. Many sprues, so many options, 30 Marines in all, 3 tactical squads in one box. And it was this box, these strange little warriors who seem so silly and small now, with their Mark 6 Corvus beaks and their affectionate sobriquet of Wombles. It was a simple box. You had many options, but with that one box, you felt like a king. For you had 3 whole units of the most powerful warriors of the far future, all in the one. And you could play an entire war with just them. Bog roll scenery and stacked CDs and videos to represent walls or buildings. When we were encouraged to build our own scenery. A naive and more simple time, but no better. Do not get me wrong, I do not consider someone like me who has played from Rogue Trader, with breaks, to be better or more of a fan than someone who started yesterday. We are all equals in our love of something deeply over the top and amazingly detailed. A world where it is so horrible that 8-foot warriors, who are more armoured than tanks, are the only way that humanity can continue. So when you see an old ghoul lament about the loss of the mini-marines, the firstborn, the Astartes, do not deride, do not pity, do not confront. For they feel that they are losing a part of themselves, a cherished memory that will soon be just a question, one that they will not wish to ever hear. And here it is. What is an Astartes? Or what was a tactical squad? For it is this perhaps more than any other reason that the older players have shown animosity towards the Primaris and the new wave of lore. But with all of that said, never listen to an old ghoul when they turn sour. For the love of the Marine, the lore, the aesthetic, the relaxation, camaraderie and fun are all unconnected with any one army, one unit or one piece, or one take of the lore. Just know that they are in mourning, for it is saying goodbye to the things that started it all. As we close this entry, I have but one more statement. It is easy to look at the elites and the best units and think that they are the game, the world, the setting. It is easy to create armies full of them and to leave out the old tacticals. But when one does so, one loses a small part of the game in my mind. For the drama really comes not from the Primarchs and demigods of war that stalk all of the rosters, the Swarmlord, Commander Farsight, Imatech or even Gazgul. The real drama resides in the foot troop, the dice, the movement, and the simple chance that one brave man, or one small squad of men, can turn the tide of a battle, can change the outcome of a war. And so many times, it has always been the tacticals. For in the grim darkness of the far future, the wars of the Imperium may effectively be fought by its Imperial Guard, its Astra Militarum, but its most important battles are always exclusively won by its Space Marines. And of all of the units in the game, in the setting, above all others, it is the tactical Marines that have done most to provide those victories. The tactical Marine, the tactical squad. I shall miss them so much. I have been Voldemort, your faithful servant. I hope you have enjoyed this brief introduction to the Tactical Marines and the squad. If so, then please do consider liking and subscribing. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.